Hey everybody. So I just came back from getting an oil change. No, I did not do my own oil change. And I just want to talk about maintenance services and just how I personally feel about them. A lot of people have like really negative feelings about maintenance and services from companies. And the fact that everybody out there is trying to scam you. And like when I was really insecure about, I'm going to turn off the car because it's really noisy. When I was really insecure about my knowledge about my own car, like I was always afraid. It's like, are they scamming me? Are they not scamming me? And so the little bit of education I've been building about my car, about maintenance, about what's important and what can wait, I feel it's been very valuable. Like I think a lot of the time, the problems, I used to have a Kia Sportage. And when I lived in DC, I was actually homeless for a couple of months before I got back into an apartment roommate situation. And I was half living out of my Kia Sportage, half staying on people's couches. It was a completely different experience than living in my van or even living in the car before I got the van because I was homeless. And that gets into this whole other video I could do about the mentality of living in a vehicle and being homeless versus the mentality of living in a vehicle and being houseless. And I do consider it a mental thing. It has nothing to do with how much money you have. A lot of people be like, well, I'm not homeless in my van because I could afford an apartment if I want to. That doesn't make you not homeless in your van. The fact that when you go to your van, you are home and you don't think of anywhere else as home, or you're not desiring another place to call home, like that makes you not homeless. When I was kind of trapped in my Kia Sportage, I felt very homeless, but that's completely like off the subject. I loved my Sportage. It was a great little SUV. It was big enough to haul stuff around when I needed to. Like I was the first person who was able to sort of offer up a vehicle in those situations where large things needed to be moved. I had it for most of my final year of college. But anyway, getting to the point, I was whenever something went wrong with the Sportage, I was in a panic because I didn't really understand car maintenance. So when I couldn't afford everything and I learned later, don't go to the dealership. When I was going to the dealership, they would convince me I needed to spend I would go in for my free oil change, and then they would try to convince me I needed 5,000 things done to the vehicle. It was a recommended maintenance, yes, but the thing is, there's stuff that can wait if it's not broken yet. Like, you don't need to do it right away, and learning how to prioritize those things is kind of super freaking important, and I had no clue. I was in the dark. I got my license later in life. I was never into cars. I never gave a crap about cars. I wasn't into the mechanics of cars. People be like, look at that Lexus, or look at that disc going down the street. And I'd be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Give me a color. That's how much I did not follow cars at all. And then when I was 33, brief, explanation, I went back to college when I was 28, and I started at a community college, and then I graduated from a 4-year university because I transferred out after I gained a certain amount of credits and got a high GPA. I transferred into a 4-year institution and got my bachelor's. And so I was 33 when I actually graduated college because I was also working full time the whole time. And then I got my Sportage, not that long after getting my license. I got my license. I got my Kia Sportage. I did have it, on a car payment. Long story short, that was my graduation. That was my, college vehicle as a older adult. So I was in kind of a different situation, but I just hadn't educated myself on cars because I didn't care about them. And for the longest time, I actually didn't want to drive, which is funny because now I live in a vehicle. And if you buy a house maintenance and the things involved in house maintenance become more important to you, and living in a van, how to keep it running, because the second my car breaks down, it's not like if you live in a house where you can just Uber for a while it's getting repaired or you're figuring it out. Your house is gone if it breaks down. So increasing my education on cars comes from not a passion. I have absolutely no passion for cars, but from the functionality of wanting to keep moving, wanting to keep my house on the road. So there's stuff I do, like fixing my sunroof, because I'm I want to save money. I am not a passionate DIY person. I'm not like, I want to do it. Honestly, if I have the money to pay somebody else to do it, chances are I'll do it. Not even gonna lie. And if there's something I'm uncomfortable with, like I will watch a repair video. I've repaired several of my computers. I'm actually more interested in that than probably the mechanics of cars. But there's several computers that, Windows computers, because Apple doesn't want you to touch their crap, that I've repaired myself because I looked up the repair and I was like, I can install a new screen, I can put in a new keyboard, and I felt very comfortable watching that video and then following the steps to do it myself. Because there's a YouTube video about it and somebody finds it easy, doesn't mean I will. And my biggest thing about oil changes is like, I don't have, like, when I take it to the car shop, they will lift it up on some, you know, lifters, and they have all the equipment and trays and all that stuff to do the oil change. And also, like, I get kind of uncomfortable dealing with the car down there. I think if you're 100% comfortable doing your own oil changes, from what I can tell, for most people, they're not that complicated, go ahead and do it. Now, what I do know how to do is check my oil and check all the fluids under my hood. Somebody taught me how to do that so that I'm not in a panic once the oil change light comes on. If I need to wait a week or a month, I have enough skills to assess how fast I need to rush and take care of things. And that's what's more valuable to me than always doing it myself. And as far as like being scammed, I've been using Firestone lately. I ended up getting a Firestone card, and when I first got the van, I didn't have the cash to do a lot of the early repairs, but I had repaired my credit. So I used the Firestone card to get the van initially together. And since then, I've been paying it off, and I've been 100% focused on just paying it off. But since I started going to Firestone, they started having my records for this van and the car I had before it. I like that I get to go to this institution that's everywhere. And I know a lot of people have negative feelings about it. I've seen people react negatively to it on Katie Carney's channel. I've seen people react negatively to it on Chrome was talking about how he likes just going and getting all his maintenance done at some place, I forget where, but it's the same concept for me with Firestone. If I can DIY something that's not that hard, awesome. I'll go ahead and do it. Like that sunroof. It was an overpriced repair that I knew bloody well I could do myself. On the other hand, sometimes these places are really nice. Like, just because they're basically the big box stores of car maintenance or repair doesn't mean they're inherently evil. And you just need to develop the skills to assess if their service is valuable to you. The second I walk in a place and it has Wi-Fi and public restrooms, I know half of the price I'm paying towards that place is supporting the fact that stuff exists. I don't really care about that. I could go into, you know, an auto shop that's just an auto shop, and you know what, sit in a folding chair if my car is going to be delivered with the services done. One of the horror stories I've heard is, oh, like, they say they're doing it, but then they don't really do it or something like that. Well, the reason I know that's not happening in Firestone is every Firestone has glass windows where I can see directly into what the maintenance people is doing. I can look at my car the second it goes through there, and I can watch what the guy is doing. So if, like, they didn't really do the oil change, like, I would see it. And on top of that, I now know how to check my fluids. So, like, today, all of my fluids were topped off. Old Dawn, like Kia Sportage Dawn, would have took it on faith that that was done. New Dawn knows what my car should look like with all the fluids topped off. And so, like, if I open that hood right now, I know how to check and verify that the work was done. And to me, that's the most powerful skill. Like, if you're really into DIY, because it will save you a lot of money, do it. But I also don't think you should make yourself do something that you're not comfortable with. For me, the key is always research. Like, what does it take to change this part? How much does it cost for the part itself? And am I comfortable doing the work myself now that I've seen it? And if I'm not, I shouldn't touch it. This is my home. Like I said, most people could probably, like, repair their own roofs on their houses with enough effort. And I'm just going to make an extreme comparison, but Do you really want to do it? Do you have the skills to know that it's going to be done right? Do you have faith in those skills? And I think you should go as far as your faith in your skills, but you should always be educated about what you expect it to look like when it's done, so that you have the skills to assess, dude, this ain't cool. I paid you for a service, versus, you know, I guess I have to trust that it's done because I don't really understand what should be done. So for me, Firestone has actually worked out great. I'm sure they're not the cheapest price point out there, but as a business, even the times that they have dissatisfied me, which they did once with a tire sale, mostly because the woman didn't explain the warranty thing, and then when my tire blew out a week after I got it, I had to end up paying for a whole new tire because she had never offered me the warranty service, nor had it been explained that this was a separate thing. I thought brand new tires would come with a warranty where, like, if they need to be replaced a week later, like, there's some sort of catch-all there for a regular customer, but it didn't happen. Long story short, that was one of the times I was dissatisfied, but, like, they've never tried. I get checks every time I go in because they don't cost that much. So, like, I just have their mechanics look it over, and then, you know, I get a report on how the car is doing, and, like, they've never tried to, like, oversell me. They're like, everything's cool. Like, the only thing they brought up was I do need to replace my battery, which I'm going to do, like, in a week, because I want to do some comparison shopping, and the battery's not dead. It did die on me, and AAA came out and jumped me about a couple of weeks ago, and they said their battery test was inconclusive, but it was probably good to replace it. And just when I came in for my oil change and I went ahead and got my complete inspection while I was here, again, the battery thing came up. So car maintenance is important. Number one, don't ignore it. Like with my Kia, I was just bad. And the fact that it lasted as long as it did with me not being, oh, it's so bright. I'm going to try to do something about this. Let me see if we can do that. Make it better. I don't know how much better that made it. But anyway, point is, I am not against going to service providers to do car stuff, but I'm also a big fan of empowering yourself in understanding your vehicle. And if you can do it yourself, hell yeah. The parts and your own labor is always going to be better price than somebody else's parts and labor. But I'm also like, when I used to work at a sandwich shop, this guy came in and he commented on the price of our sandwiches, and he was like, you know, I can make the sandwich myself for less than that. Yes, you could. You're paying for the fact that I'm standing here making it for you. And I feel the same way about all services. People who are providing the service, they deserve to be paid. Now, some labor costs are like astronomical and like insane, but like, even when we go to doctors, we're paying them for their skills and knowledge. Yes, we're paying for the fact the building exists. We're paying for the equipment being used. We're paying for any medicines that are dispersed to us on site. But we're also paying for the fact that this is a person who is specialized in a field. And I feel the same way about the car. I don't mind paying someone who's specialized in the field to provide a service as long as I think that it's fair. And honestly, like, the inspection I got today and the oil change and getting all my fluids topped off, like all of that, it cost me something I think is valuable. And that people who are experts, who do this on a daily basis, who look at not just my own car, but hundreds of cars, who have an open window where I can see the work they're doing the job they trained to do. And that's all jobs are in this world. It is somebody who is specialized in providing some sort of service. And that's even like your food service worker or your clerk at the store. There's lower specializations, and then there's higher specializations, which are mechanics. Now, I do think, like I said, continue to empower yourself in your car maintenance. Always examine and ask if you can do a repair yourself to save yourself some money. And if you can't, or you don't want to, and you have the money, don't hesitate in paying an expert. Just do your research and know the product you're expecting to get so that you can criticize anything that doesn't meet the need that you paid for. And that's the best I feel like I can do to avoid being scammed when it comes to car maintenance. That's all I got for you today, guys. I'm really trying to be more efficient with getting out videos. I've been working like crazy, but it's been great. I'm on this amazing show and I'm enjoying every second of it. Unfortunately, it ends in a week. I'm gonna miss this show, but I have more work coming up and exciting things coming in the future, and like building my work is going well. Like I'm pretty satisfied. All right. Have a wonderful day. I'm sorry about this like weird square of sunlight.